All right, I want to welcome everyone back to the Evolution Project podcast, where we're a brotherhood living an undivided life. And we believe that we can inspire through transformation and create connection. And so today here, I've got one of my best friends, Franco Preston.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Hello, Franco. Yes. And really, I think we can just we can get into it.
All right, let's do it.
We can just do that. So, Franco, we've obviously known each other for a long time. It'd be good. Could you just give me a little bit of background on where you're from? Just catch me up on your life. How'd you get here today, Franco?
How I got here today. I grew up on the beaches of Santa Barbara, California. Well, not on the beaches, but in a little town called Lompoc. When I was 13, moved to Idaho. And that's actually where we met.
Yeah.
We played on the same baseball team in high school. You were a year older than me. And, we were pretty decent friends in high school. We had a couple years as we got married and started life that we weren't in contact. Mm-hmm. But, last couple years we've been really close. Cool. And,
Awesome. So let's go back here a second. So grew up in California. We met in Idaho. Mm-hmm. Give everyone a little bit more context of how we met, because I think it's kind of cool. I mean, we both basically were almost professional baseball players.
We were trying to get recruited highly out of high school.
It's weird that we're talking here today about this. Yeah, we should have been.
No, we spent a lot of time on the bench together. Yeah, I was a pitcher, and I was.
We should have started a podcast and just called it On the Bench.
On the bench, right? That'd be good. But yeah, and then unfortunately, you were behind a freshman who's the best player to maybe come out of Idaho in a very long time.
John Hardy. Shout out to John Hardy. Yeah. Thank you.
So we spent a lot of time talking and screwing around on the bench. And I was the guy in high school. I was the comedic relief in any situation. I came at it from an angle of what can be funny about this, or how stupid can I act to get people to laugh.
Yeah.
And then you were kind of the guy everybody really liked. You seemed like you were like the popular kid, but you weren't popular because you came from money or because you were really cool.
Yeah.
You were popular because you were sincere and people felt loved around you.
I wasn't the high school quarterback.
No. Dang it. But I remember you hitting a home run. That was amazing.
That was amazing. Yeah. Do you know that home run, that when I hit that home run, that was on a hit and run?
Really?
Which is the opposite of what you're supposed to do.
Yeah. Well, you didn't even try to go the opposite.
I didn't even go the opposite.
Hold it.
I did everything wrong and everything right. All right. Okay, so we're friends in high school. Mm-hmm. So tell me a little bit about what was your life like at that point?
So baseball and school was my outlet.
Okay,
it was my safe place.
Cool.
Home wasn't a place that I felt safe at, and it wasn't an environment that made me feel good. So I tried to be out of home as much as possible. Mm-hmm. So I played on a couple of traveling baseball teams. In high school, I was senior class president. I was as involved as possible with friends and social aspects of life, because home was not safe.
Yeah,
and I didn't feel loved like I wanted to feel love, and I felt that around friends, and I felt that when I played sports.
Totally.
Yeah.
Okay, so we finish high school. Mm-hmm. We both serve a LDS mission.
Yeah. We
kind of come back. We're still friends, but probably not in not even close to communication like we are now.
Yeah.
Where'd life take you from that point forward?
So I ended up joining the LDS Church after high school.
Okay.
I served a mission in the Philippines.
Yeah.
And when I was gone, I got a letter from home. I was in my first area, and they said, "Hey, we just want to let you know that you've ruined our family. So please stop writing. Please stop. You're no longer part of our family."
Oh, God.
So that's how I ended up in Utah. Is I came home.
Familyless.
Yeah, kind of. And I lived with a friend that I met in the Philippines and his family here in Riverton.
Okay.
And kind of wasn't my choice, not how things I wanted to play out at the time. But looking back on it, I'm totally happy with how it is. I love Utah.
Met Jody shortly after.
So got home in July. I had been dating a girl for a while.
Yeah.
And she decided to slow down a little bit. And I met Jody that was like a Tuesday night. She's like, "Hey, I want to take a break." I met Jody that Friday. We went on 3 dates and we're engaged.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And she was coming out of a situation where she just wanted to be part of a family. I was going into a situation where I just desperately wanted a family. I wanted to be part of something.
Yeah.
And 3 dates, we get engaged and got married shortly after.
2 ships passing in the night.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it became the same ship.
Became the same ship, and it had lots of rough water. And we were both trying to steer the ship.
We're going to stay in that metaphor for the rest of the thing. I'll just keep referring back. So what part of the ship?
And then the storm of the ship came, and the ballast. That's a part of the ship, right?
Mine had a maiden on the front called a Guinevere. All right. So you end up, if I remember correctly, weren't you going down the path of becoming like a physical therapist or something like that?
Yeah. So I went up to the University of Utah. I did the entire pre-medical program to be a chiropractor.
Okay.
Coming out of that, I wasn't interested in it. And I just wanted to make money. I knew chiropractors made a lot of money. I started shadowing chiropractors. And they're like, hey, get out. It's not what it was when we got into it. Unless you have a business you're taking over, you're not going to make money till you're much older. So I decided, hey, I loved baseball growing up. I loved my baseball coaches. I loved that atmosphere. So I changed majors and became a history major, and I wanted to teach.
Okay.
So I ended up teaching at a middle school. Fort Harriman Middle School, I taught for 6 years, and then went into administration. I was an administrator at a middle school for 3 years, and then at elementary schools for 4 years.
So where we kind of like started to, because we'd get together every once in a while, go to lunch, but we weren't like hanging out a ton.
Yeah.
Where we kind of connected back was that day I called you up and I said, hey, can I stop by your office?
Yeah.
I want to run something past you.
Yeah. You called me and I said, dude, I don't have lunches. But if you meet me after school, I can meet you. So you came over. Okay. It's like 4:30 in the afternoon, and you're like, hey, Franco, you're one of my good friends. There's just been something I'm toying around with the idea. I just kind of want your input. And it's this thing called Evolution Project.
Okay.
And like it's a place where, guys can go, because you told me, you're like, I feel like all guys are so similar, but we have to put on this front for everyone.
Yeah.
But I feel like we're all going through the same stuff, but no one's saying anything. And we don't know how to deal with it.
Did that message hit with you at that time? Were you like, yeah, me too, I feel that?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I think it's something that I had always felt. And I think we'll continue to feel is, am I alone in what I'm dealing with? I can't be the only one feeling like this.
Right.
And
so what were you feeling at that time?
So what I was feeling was, and this I feel, so looking back on that life now, the happiest moment of my morning was when I got into my car to drive to work.
Yeah. Because
the moment I stepped out of my car at work, I put on these shoes of an actor, where I was the cool, fun teacher that everyone loved. I was the administrator that all the kids, they weren't scared of me. I really was good at what I did, and I really felt like I was meant to do those things.
Yeah.
And the hardest part of my day was getting back into my car and driving home.
Because?
Because I felt like I was going to let people down. I would feel the anxiety. I'd drive home on Redwood Road, and as I'm getting closer to my home, instead of being like, oh, I'm excited, I'm done with work, I get to go be with my family, it was like, okay, well, I'm loved here. I'm going to a place where I don't feel successful as a dad. I don't feel successful as a husband. And not more importantly, but at the same time, I'm not successful. If I don't have an audience, I have nothing.
Do you feel like that? Because I hear you saying this, and I just kind of put this together. Like, that's kind of how you felt at high school too, though, right?
Oh, absolutely. Like if I was performing, I was loved. People were laughing at me, and it made me feel really good. I was getting attention. But at the same time, if no one was around or I had nothing to make light of, I was empty.
So at the core, like, you had a really good front stage of your life.
Yeah. If you looked at me, you'd be like, oh, Franco's really confident. He's outgoing. He's happy. And in front of people, I was all those things.
Yeah.
But the second I was behind closed doors, I was nothing.
Not the case.
Not the case at all. No.
And so I reach out to you, and I'm like, hey, Franco, I know it's been a while, but I'm thinking of doing this, men's thing.
Yeah.
Something you'd be interested in. This is like roughly 2019, 2020.
Well, you had said, it's going to be called Evolution Project. This is kind of what I want to do. I'm going to have my first group of guys go through. I'd love your feedback.
Yeah.
You're like, I've known you for a long time. You seem like you're really successful at what you do. Do you feel successful inside yourself? And I was like, okay, kind of. I think I'm a pretty good guy.
Yeah.
Things are going good for me. And so you invited me to come, and politely I said, hey, it's not good timing. We just had a kid. I was working 50 hours a week at a middle school as the assistant principal, and I just had a lot going on in life. And about a year later, You gave me. I was driving home, and for whatever reason, I was feeling it hard that day. Like, I need to pull over. I'm going to throw up because I am not feeling good about going home. I was in a part of my life where my marriage was really on the rocks.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't feeling successful as a dad. I wasn't feeling successful as a human. And I thought, is this what life is for the next 20 years? Here I've made it into the career I want, but I'm only happy when I'm at work. Or I'm only happy when I'm playing with my kids. I love my kids. I have great kids. But it was this whole time in between where I had to sit with myself that I was not happy at all.
Mm-hmm.
So you invited me to the Evolution Project.
So your life was divided at that point.
Oh, 100%. And it wasn't just divided like at home. Who I was on the inside was also divided. Because I had these aspirations of being a great guy. I've always wanted to be a really good guy. But when you're living a double-sided life and you're living two different lives at the same time, it's really hard to do. It's hard to remember which one you are. And not only was I this human at work and this human at home, but I also had this whole thing on the side where it's like, hey, is that maybe the lifestyle I want?
Mm-hmm.
And so you invited me to Evolution Project. And I said, hey, thank you so much. And you're like, well, I think you could get a lot out of it. Everyone could get a lot out of it. And I said, Brian, thank you. Keep inviting me. It's something I'm interested in, but the timing's just not right.
Which happens often.
Yeah.
Common thing.
And so an easy way out for me, I was like, hey, the money's, I can't come up with the money right now. And you told me, you're like, Franco, all I want is a sacrifice. That's all this that's all this money is. It's a sacrifice to come, and you come to it. Whatever you feel as a sacrifice, great. I don't care. Mm-hmm. I just really want you to experience this.
Yep.
So I said no politely. At home that night, I was talking to my wife, and I said, hey, I think I've been invited to this thing. I want to go to it. And my wife said, well, I think you should go. If you think it'll be good, I think you should go. So I called you the next morning and said, hey, this is what I can sacrifice right now. The finances are really tight, and this is what I'm good with. And I accepted the invitation.
Yeah. You answered the call.
I did.
So what's crazy is before we started talking today, I got on and said, when was the Evolution Project that Franco came to? So it was in May of 2021.
Yeah.
Was the first one that you attended. What was your experience like there? What did you take away from that experience?
Yeah, so I had no idea what to expect. And I had lived so much of my life trying to justify myself in every situation.
Yeah.
And I would always compare myself. Hey, this guy's really successful. We all start showing up, and I'm in my car, and they're in this nice truck or this nice car. And already I'm going back to, you're not good enough to be here. You're not good enough to be here. Okay, now you need to be funny, because if you're funnier than them, then you'll be noticed.
So that's that's something you'd fall back on a lot in your life.
Always.
So when in doubt, when I'm uncomfortable.
When I'm uncomfortable and I don't want to talk, if I'm funny and really outgoing, nobody will know that I feel like this inside.
And it works.
It does, yeah.
Does it still work?
It does, yeah.
Yeah. But you're more aware of why you do it.
I'm more aware, and I feel like I'm more genuine now. Okay. I really do enjoy being funny. Yeah. I do like looking at the lighthearted side of things.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there's a time to be serious.
Right. So you already feel kind of like your walls, your protective walls, kind of starting to come up, and it's like, did you ever have a thought like, what am I doing here kind of thing?
Oh, absolutely. Right away, we went into an activity. We get there. It was fine. I'm trying not to compare, but I'm just feeling so conflicted inside.
Yeah.
I'm literally toying with the idea. Do I go home to my wife, or do I go home and start packing my bags? I mean, that's where I am.
So you're in a pretty serious part of your life.
I really was. And that's really what it was coming down to. Yeah. And kind of the very first activity we did is we looked another guy right in the eye, really close.
Yeah.
We got close, and it was interesting that I was paired with this other guy, because we got there and he was the loud, funny one. And because he was louder and funnier than me, I went right into my shell almost, but it was just, I felt uncomfortable. I was like, oh, that's my technique.
He's stealing my
thing.
Signature move.
Yes. So right away, this mask activity where we were wearing a mask, and it was interesting. COVID was right around then as well.
Yeah.
But we had a mask activity where you're right in another guy's face, uncomfortable, and we started talking about the masks that we wear.
Yeah.
And I said, hey, I'm the funny guy. And I'm funny because I'm so uncomfortable with, if you don't laugh at me, there's nothing left of me.
Did you feel belonging at any, like in your life? Like, I feel like this sense of belonging. Did you feel that previously in your life, or did you always kind of feel like it was a facade, all of it?
So I grew up, as a lot of kids do, but with parents who were divorced.
Uh-huh.
And I knew what my mom's childhood was like, and I knew the family she was trying to create, and I knew my dad. He was adopted in Germany, and neither of them got to have a childhood.
Okay.
You know, my mom was, from the age of 2, sex was like a family activity for her.
Oh, wow.
To where, I mean, her childhood was bad. She ended up going to foster care. And my dad, the same kind of story. We're just not...
Very rough.
And so badly
upbringings.
they wanted a family. And they just didn't have the tools and the skills needed, and substance abuse issues. It made it to the point where I felt that pressure to give them that ideal family. I didn't want to act out ever. I really wanted to give only my best to them.
Okay.
Which meant I didn't grow up for much of myself. I grew up trying to make other people happy.
Right. So this theme of like, you never were ultimately you.
Correct.
Which probably feels like a lot of weight. I'm guessing.
Absolutely. And even when all I have left is me, I'm not happy with that. So I have nothing.
Right.
You know, so
I can see the trap that creates. It's like,
yeah,
fulfillment's right around the corner, never.
Well, and the other thing that was hard with that, Brian, people thought I was really funny. So they would compliment all the time, dude, you're so funny. We really like this about you. Or
did you believe that the mask was working for you, or did you always
know?
know?
Because they're giving me compliments on things that aren't real.
Ah.
So it'd be like complimenting me on something that my buddy did, but they think that I did it, you know? So yeah, I started at the Evolution Project. We had that mask activity where someone took my mask, and I was like, okay, what do I need to do? And I said, I need to play all out. I need to fully immerse myself in this. I have nothing to lose.
Right.
Because I was at a really low spot. And
sounds like a pretty crucial spot too.
It was bad, Brian. And that night we were talking, and one of the leaders of the activity, I was saying, you know, this is wrong with my wife's doing this. This is not going well. This is not going well. And he said, you realize, Franco, that the problem is you. And man, it was one of those moments around we were around a fire. Everyone just stopped and looked and did he just say that?
Yeah.
And I grew, instead of being like, oh, you're right, I was just so angry.
Yeah.
And I've come to realize that's one of those phrases that I turn to more often than any other time. And it's a place where I'm comfortable now. The problem is me, great. Because there's so much stuff in my life I can't control. Mm-hmm. Let me just focus on what I can control.
Yeah. Powerful.
Yeah.
So you go through the experience, you have it sounds like these kind of awakenings or awareness around some stuff.
Uh-huh.
Obviously, you're fixed the next day, right?
Perfect. I was so good that no.
Oh, no, it didn't work out that way.
No, well, and one of the things that stood out to me was we talk about the hero's journey a lot in Evolution Project.
Absolutely.
This if you follow any big story, any big movie, any big book or saga, there's this hero who is called to do something. They don't want to do it. It's uncomfortable. They like their life how it is, but they're asked, deep inside they know they're part of something bigger. Mm-hmm. Someone comes along and challenges them to be part of that. Mm-hmm. And I spent so much of my life looking for heroes in my life to emulate. And it was the first time that I ever took the hero's journey and said, whoa, hey, Franco, did you know that you're the hero of your own life? Mm-hmm. That I'm the source of my problems, I'm the source of my pain, but I'm also the source of my triumph. Mm-hmm. And going through the hero's journey with putting myself at the center and myself as the hero was the first time that I both held myself accountable, but I also forgave myself for things that were... things that I hated about myself. I gave myself permission to love. Mm. And it was at that moment where I wasn't changed after the Evolution Project. But I knew I could live a better life than I was living that day. Mm-hmm. And so I started applying the things that I learned at Evolution Project. We did breath work there. I'd never even heard of breath work.
Yeah.
And through a breathwork experience, I realized, oh my gosh, in all my stress and all my craziness, are you breathing? And going back to my breath and recentering. I learned that weekend. That was the first time, Brian, that I gave myself permission to not fix a problem. That's right. To just sit and not fix it, and that's okay. Mm-hmm. And I felt this weight from my shoulders lifted. And I started from that moment on. I was like, hey, other people need to feel what this is like. To live so much of your life where I felt like I was carrying the weight of everything, to realize you didn't take it from me. No one else took it from me. But I just lifted it off to my side and just set it there. And then I was free to just be me. I wasn't me with all these burdens. I was just me.
Which you'd never really experienced previously at that point in your life.
No. I was always me because I wanted to make someone else happy.
So you were never, ironically, you were never there for you.
No.
Wow. So here we are. So you come to that first evolution project. You get some awareness.
Yeah.
You realize there's a lot of work in front of you.
Yep.
You start maybe taking care of yourself a little bit, speaking to yourself a little bit kinder, facing these hard things in your life.
Yeah.
And what's it been like? I mean, what's the journey? What's the conversation with life like at that point?
Well, one of the major aspects of Hero's journey is you go into this cave, this dark area that's scary, and you face this dragon, and you defeat the dragon, only to find out that dragon was yourself. And I've come doing the work. It's I used to set goals in life, like, hey, once I achieve this goal, then that'll be great. But I noticed that the second I achieve a goal, I never felt triumphant. I was always upset with myself that I didn't set it higher. So once I started doing what you call it the work is the work is the work is the work. Once I started waking up and having a routine. Hey, I'm going to wake up. I'm going to journal. I'm going to breathe. I'm going to do these things with intent. And magically, if I win the first quarter of the day, the second quarter of the day goes a lot more smooth. And then I start doing that day in and day out, and I realize, hey, the more breath work I do, the more meditation I do, the more prayer I do, the more I attend the temple, the more I do these things that I hold sacred to me and that I know are true, the more I'm feeling at peace with who I am. And Brian, I've switched careers. You know, I sell real estate now. I'm no longer in education, and I have nothing against education.
You love it.
I absolutely love it, and it's a passion of mine. It's one of the cornerstones of my whole business. I'm working to promote education.
That's right.
But at the same time, I'm helping men try to achieve the best version of themselves. And I felt like I achieved what I could in education. And because of my time constraint during the day, I was unable to really open up these other facets of my life. So switching careers, I now have the mornings open to become the best version of myself and prepare for what comes that day. My relationship with my wife is we have this honesty and intimacy with each other we both didn't think was possible. And it's not just Evolution Project. We're in therapy together. We're relying on each other.
Well, this is the work, right?
The work is, hey, Evolution Project, is that going to solve everything? No. But if it starts a conversation with yourself of, hey, you feel really good when you do this. You want to achieve better. All right, what does that look like?
And that's what it looks like for you.
It's what it looks like for me.
I mean, at the core, Franco, the biggest thing that I keep hearing you say over and over again is, I love myself.
Well, and Brian, I've always compared myself to when I was alone, I was not happy. And so I started putting things in my life. Well, if I do this, I'll be happy. If I go on this vacation, if I achieve this, I'll be happy.
It was always recognized for something on the horizon.
Yes. And what I was left with at the end of the day was still just myself. And now when I'm by myself, it's not only happy, but I'm proud of myself. I'm proud that when something comes across my plate that is just going to try to shock me or rock my world, that I allow myself the time to take a step back, to breathe, to analyze it, and realize, hey, okay, this is what's happening right now. How I decide to handle this situation determines if I'm going to be stressed about it, if I'm going to lose sleep over it, if I ask for help. How I want to fix this problem may not even be to fix it. It may just be to sit with it and let it blow over. But I'm able to do that in a place where I feel peace, I'm content, and I try to define happiness, and it's really hard because it's pretty vague, but I really, really enjoy waking up in the morning. I really enjoy going to work. I really enjoy going home, I enjoy winding down with my wife at night. And I get excited. I'm excited going to bed knowing that I get to wake up the next day.
Yeah.
And for me, that's happiness.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Well, I feel like we've covered the ground.
I'm really excited. I now work with the Evolution Project pretty heavily. And it's been a huge part of my life.
Yeah.
I've had my dear friends come to it, family members come to it. And, the whole purpose is not to say, hey, you're struggling, you need help. The whole purpose is to say, hey, I see you. And do you want to see yourself?
Mm-hmm.
And this thought of living an undivided life, I don't have to be an actor. I don't have to step into these shoes under this situation in my life. And I'm secure enough to where, hey, if this isn't something that if you like and it's not for you, hey, that's great. But I know what helps me and my family, and I'm going to move forward with that.
Cool. Yeah. Franco, I want to tell you I appreciate you coming on today.
Thank you.
I appreciate you sharing these parts of you with everyone, because that which is most private is most universal.
Yeah.
Turns out.
Yep.
And the things that we think make us so different than everybody else, right? When somebody shows up wearing our mask, how dare
you? Yeah.
you? Yeah. But the reality is, it's like, that's the conversation with life that we're having. And I just want to tell you, thanks for coming on.
Yeah.
Thanks for being one of my best friends.
Yeah, no, likewise, man.
Thanks for doing the work, because one of the things that I found is that as I do the work, magically, right, like my relationships enhance.
Yeah.
And I see the people that are doing the work too. And oftentimes the work that we're doing is a lot of the same work.
Yeah.
And I know that that's been something that's been really true for me as I've been your friend in this process, and I'm grateful for you. So thank you.
Cool. Thank you.
And everybody else, just hang tight. This is my good buddy Franco, and really my goal is I have really awesome friends, and there's people that I have acquaintances with and that I know. And one of my goals with this podcast is I just want to introduce the world to amazing people in my life that are living a life more undivided. And I feel like when people can share that story, right, it gives more light in the world. It gives hope for people. It gives hope for people to be like, I can do this. Because in those dark moments, Franco, like, I'm so grateful that you endured.
Yeah, I am too.
Can you imagine if you didn't?
Well, it's scary. I look back, it's been 2 years since I started really trying to do the work.
Yeah.
Day in and day out.
Uh-huh.
And I feel like I've done a good job at continuing to do the work.
Yeah.
But I don't take it for granted. I know it could have gone the other way very easily.
Totally.
And I'll continue to do the work and continue to do it with a smile on my face. And when things come up that are bad, hey, let's learn from this.
Cool.
It's part of the process.
Well, let's walk each other home on our path to living the best version of ourselves.
Stop at a couple taco stands on the way.
I will do that here at the Evolution Project podcast. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Thank you.